questions or concerns, or if you're curious about something, you can feel free to throw a note in the chat. I will absolutely keep my eye on it. Because we are moving at home in our own spaces and I cannot, see our bodies, I'll do my best to give lots of cues, lots of options. That being said, our primary purpose for being here, is to find a sense of, of stillness and presence, to have an embodied practice, and that's allowed to look different. So, as I give cues and shapes and options, they are just that. You know far better than I do, especially from this distance, what you need. And so if something isn't working, just find the thing that does and find some breath. And that will absolutely be a great place to land. And we sort of find each other as we continue to move through the practice. You'll notice I have my mat behind me, so once I get moving, I'll be demoing, so you can see what's going on. I've also got a chair set up, so as we do some of our standing postures, I like to make sure that for those of you who like to either use a chair to sit or in transitions or to support your balance, that you kind of have a visual. But again, I don't always think of all the options or all the things. So, if something I'm doing, again, doesn't quite support where you're at in any given moment, please trust yourself, because that's ultimately why we're here, right? To sort of get to know ourselves, to develop a deeper sense of knowing and of certainty and trust in ourselves as we move through not just our practice, but as this practice prepares us to move through the world. So I'll keep an eye on the screen. If you notice me repeating things, it's possible that I've just let a new person into the room. So if you hear that, that could be what's going on. We are going to start seated. You can do that on the earth, which I am doing now. If you have a chair or you're on a couch, that's fine. But if you are seated up on a surface, please make sure your feet are grounded. So bottom of the feet pressing into the earth, or please try to find that at least. Other option, always to be laying. The beautiful part about a lot of this work is the visualization, especially of the breath. That's very powerful. So if anything I'm cueing doesn't work physically, feel free just to picture it happening in your body, and that will have a significant energetic impact as well. So we're just going to start with a minute or so of breathing. And first thing I want you to do, whether it's through the nose or the mouth, is just, find yourself in the physical moment. So, notice how you're feeling, what you're feeling. Right, we can sometimes come to some of these practices of stillness with an expectation of being something or becoming something, but really we're just trying to be. So, how have you landed in this moment? How are you beginning? If you can move the breath through the nose, great. That gives us an ability to kind of find a sense of calming breath. When we breathe through the mouth, it tends to be those sort of hurried, energetic, sometimes panicked or anxious breaths. So breathing through the nostrils is a great way to anchor. If you can't breathe through the nostrils, breathe through the mouth, but picture the breath moving through the nostrils here. And that works with the eyes open or closed. If you can, also work to fill the body in all directions. So the chest moves forwards, the upper back expands back, the ribs expand in all directions, and even the abdomen expands forwards as the space above kidneys in the back body or below the low ribs also fills and expands. And if there is a part of that breath that's hard to find, maybe just a bit of curiosity about it. Where are you struggling to expand or fill? And can you, over the next 3 or 4 breaths, have an impact on that space? Find a way to take a little more breath there. And now ideally, if you can, we're going to move the breath almost like you're drawing a circle with the breath. So it's kind of like the inhale carries you up half the circle, and the exhale carries you down the other side. And so the breath becomes this sort of steady flow. We're trying to make it smooth, so there's no roughness, no pause anywhere in the breath. And you also want to notice we tend to get stuck in transition. So if you can, the inhale right away becomes an exhale. There's no pause, no stillness. And the exhale right away becomes an inhale. So breath moves kind of like a wave. Right? Just like water, there is a continuous flow and motion. And we can work to find a little bit of continuity here. Some of you also may be working to lengthen the breath. Right? So if the inhale started and the exhale's at a 1-to-1 ratio, right? Maybe 4 counts in and 4 counts out. Seeing if you could stretch to maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 or 8. Right? Keeping in mind, working with the breath should never sort of raise anxiety. It's okay for it to be challenging, but it should always contribute to our overall calm sense of being present, which is absolutely sometime achieved, through a bit of struggle and adversity. Let's take a few more breaths. Great. And then just relax the breath. Let the chin fall softly towards the chest and take a few steady breaths in and out here. Right? Not as intentional though, not as full, not as active. And then we'll make our way from here into a tabletop pose. We're going to move through some cat-cows. Just going to make sure my camera's going to cover me there. And for anybody who isn't comfortable in table, we are moving to standing next. So a cat-cow from standing can be done nicely with just a soft bend in the knees. If you're comfortable on the knees and you're good in a table on the earth, that's great as well. Seated is also a lovely spot to find these sort of movements through the spine. Right, so we'll start just with moving into cow pose. You sink the stomach, lift the heart, and the shoulder blades slide into the chest. So wherever you are, right, earth, chair, standing, or table, just add an extra breath here. And then we come the other way into cat pose. So you arch the back towards the sky, you tuck the chin to the chest, and hollow out through the front body here. Good. And then we'll move through those two with the breath. So inhale, drop the stomach, lift the heart, open the throat. Exhale, arch the back towards the sky. Good. A few more times. In. Right, and these can be really big and exaggerated movements. They can be really subtle. Breath out. Right, sometimes subtle actually takes more awareness. Inhale, stomach drops, the shoulder blades lie close. And then exhale, arch. Good. Couple more times here. In and out. Last round of breath. Big breath in and out. And we'll find a neutral spine wherever you are. Right. And then we'll make our way up to standing from here. So doesn't need to be a really fancy transition. Okay. We're going to move a little from standing. And if you're not ready to stand, if you're seated on a stool or a chair, you're also just fine. So we're going to take the arms up and overhead. Nice big breath in. And just wrap the left wrist with the right hand And as you exhale, fold towards the right. So I'm doing the mirror image of you. You could also use that right hand down the side body, right? We'll come back up through center. And we're just going to fold halfway. So as you exhale, fold halfway, arms overhead or at the heart. You can always use a chair to support the body here. And then come all the way up. And we'll do the other side. So as the arms come up, the left wrist wraps the right hand and we fold towards the left. You could always slide that arm down the body here. Good. Come back up through center. Big breath in. Good, and we'll go again through center, just like a halfway fold, right? Dipping down in line with the earth, knees can be soft, and you can always use support. Inhale, come all the way up. And we'll do that whole sequence again. So exhale to the right. You can wrap the wrist or slide the right arm down the side, right? Inhale back through center, and then exhale just to fold. Halfway, the spine is long, my gaze is down, right? Inhale, come back up. And then we fold towards the left. This is kind of meditative, right? Inhale, back up. We fold through center. Good. Inhale, back up. Right, and find your own rhythm here. So folding to one side. Good. Back through center. You can start to get a little deeper in your fold if you'd like, right? You're folding, maybe you reach halfway. Maybe you start to get down into a full fold. Right, we'll come all the way up, nice big breath in, and we'll fold to the other side. And so instead of thinking of keeping up with me, see what breath makes sense. Think of the round breath here and just move a few more times. We'll just move for about a minute, right? So you fold through center, either halfway or deeper, right? You come up, big breath in. We're trying to find that even breath here, right? We exhale to fold to one side, right? Taking care of the low back. Right, we fold through center, respecting the shoulders, soft through the knees, taking care. Right, and so sometimes these are less about the shape, right, and more about being present in transition, right? And we absolutely are building strength and balance. But we're also just trying, to learn how to work with breath, body, transitions here. Right? In a way that allows us to take all this with us when we go off our mats and out into the world. Good. So maybe like 15 more seconds of movement here. Right? Notice if something a little different is showing up. Maybe don't fight it, right? Maybe you land in the fold and you just kind of want to hang out there for a few breaths. Maybe one of those side body stretches feels really great and you just stay. Right? So it's kind of delightful when we find those moments of recognizing we actually need something different than the people around us. And not just that, but we actually go and step into that. Great. So next time you come up and fold to the right, we'll actually stay. And notice, whether the feet are in or hip width apart, it might make sense to widen your stance. You could also be seated on a stool or a chair. One thing I want you to think about, if you're like me and you tend to arch the low back, collapsing through the front body, in the hips or the front body, I just want you to lift your hip bones towards the low ribs, sort of containing through the abdomen and making sure to protect the low back. Sometimes I even put a soft bend in the knees here. And then we're just going to sort of exaggerate the breath into this left lung, or if you've gone the other way, that sort of lung on the side body that's stretching. Right? You could still have that clasp of the hand. Great, just another breath. And then we'll come up through center. We'll go straight into the other side, the left arm sliding down the side. If you liked that clasp and the engagement through the shoulder. Right, again, notice what's happening in the front and the back body. Shouldn't be any pain or risk here in the low back. And we do want to play with filling that lung on the right side body here, just expanding a little more through the right side. Good, a couple more breaths. Right, lengthening both sides, even as we exaggerate this open side. Great, and we'll come up through center, and now we'll find the fold, right? And again, you may be using a stool or a chair to support this fold, or it may be possible to come all the way down. If you are still seated, you're just folding over the space of the legs here and trying to get a bit of a stretch through the back of the leg. Try to relax through the head and the neck if possible. You want energy rising up the back of the legs. The sits bones are just sort of lifting, and that sort of makes space for us to find a little more depth in the fold, right? Knees can be softly or deeply bent. Great, one more breath. Right, and then slowly, no rush, we'll come up to standing. Yeah, we'll open the shoulders a little bit more here. So take the arms up and overhead, a nice big breath in. And when you exhale, you're just gonna cactus the arms. So the elbows bend, you'll draw the center of the heart up and the forearms down and back, right? And just respect your own sort of space and mobility here. So we'll do that again. Inhale, arms up. You could look up. And then an exhale to bend the elbows, center of the chest rises. Great, 2 more like that. Inhale up. Exhale, bend. Good, last one here, in and out. Great, we'll add a little twist to this movement. So inhale up, and then we're just gonna find a gentle twist to the right. So trying to keep the hips steady, and you'll just open to the right. Right, we'll come up through center, and with the breath, exhale to the left. So trying to keep that left hip drawing forwards, trying not to twist too much through the leg. Inhale up. Yeah, we'll do 2 more each side. So exhale to the right, really playing with opening the heart here. Inhale up. Exhale to the left. Good. One more time. In. To the right. Last time in. To the left. Good. We'll come up through center. Big breath in. And one more time at center, we'll cactus the arms. Right? You can stay here. If you'd like, you could take the hands to the low back and squeeze the elbows in. A little bit of a different stretch through the shoulders, front of the arms. And if you feel like it today, you could actually interlace the hands, pressing the palms close and drawing the knuckles down. So lots of options, lots of shapes. And again, try not to attach yourself to the destination. It's about, finding what you need, what serves you here. We'll take a few breaths, gaze steady. Sometimes in this one, I actually tuck my chin to my chest, just a different stretch through the neck. So all these dynamic movements, right, they have a few purposes, but one of them is just, right, to really get us to sort of find a rhythm with the breath in the body, which ultimately is what we want to take with us out into the world, right? Good. So release the arms. Yeah. And we'll find just a few more poses to open the back body. So right foot will come forwards and the left foot is gonna come back. Hips should be square. So from the front, my feet are about an inner hip width apart to make space for the square of the hips. You might even notice wider than that. I've put about 1.5 feet, a little more between my feet. You might find longer or shorter makes sense. Most important thing is that left heel is grounded and the legs are strong. So we'll start with just a beginning fold, and then I'll add some movement in if you're sort of enjoying that sense of playing with the breath. If not, you can just stay in your fold. So it's a nice big breath in. We'll lengthen through the collarbones and just fold maybe halfway. Right, again, that option to use a stool, a bench, or a chair to support the body here in balance. Right, if you're okay in the fold here, you just keep the outer right hip hugging back. And the gaze comes down. And then you can find sort of 2 different kinds of breath here. So that 1-to-1 ratio is sometimes nice, this sort of neutralizing breath. And if it's one of those days where you really need to find a sense of calm, a sense of grounding and anchoring, try extending the exhale a little bit. It gets just a moment or 2 longer than the breath in that comes before it. So let's take another breath. Great, and we'll come back up. So we'll add a movement here, and again, the option is to just come down into the stationary fold, right? If that serves you, I encourage you to do that. If you're good to sort of move a little bit more, so the right foot is forwards, we're gonna take the left arm up and overhead, and my thumb is pointed back, and my palm is pointed in, and I'm gonna take my right hand to the low back, so you can either use the hip or the low back with the palm pressing out. And we just want to use that arm to sort of lift and lengthen along the collarbones and really keep the front body active. Right, and we're just going to move a little with the breath. So it's a big breath in. And when you exhale, you fold, you keep the hips square, right? You might come halfway. You might, again, use your prop. If you get in the fold and it feels really great, please feel free to stay. Otherwise, the inhale to come back up. And we keep going. So it's an exhale to fold. You might come halfway. Some of you might notice space to come deeper. Right, inhale back up. If it's not working with the arm overhead, hands to the heart, great option here. Exhale into the fold. We're going to do 2 more, right? So nice long breaths. Keep the legs strong, feet anchored. Right, if you're in the fold, just try to make sure the legs are steady and that the breath is moving fully here. Good. Exhale into the fold, and we'll hold 1 more time. Great. So right leg is forward, left leg is back. If you're challenging the upper back today, that left arm is overhead. If you're feeling sort of really adventurous, you could play with taking the right arm forwards. Some of us here maybe are going to release the hands to the right shin, or if you have space, you might take the hands to the earth. Right? There isn't a destination aside from presence and working to find your breath. Let's say 3 more. Great. And we'll slowly come up. We're going to make just a slight shift in our stance. So your back foot, you're going to now turn it almost, if you're on a mat, it would be sort of parallel with the back of the mat. It's called triangle pose, one of my favorite poses. So many places to go with it. So the arms start parallel with the earth. Palms down or palms up is just fine. Right, we want this sense of drawing this right thigh or front leg up into the pelvis here. And it's almost like you press into this hip crease to find a drop, right? We want to reach forwards. And then you just let that front arm come down, right? Left arm can be up. You can use the hip behind me. You know, a great way to start some of these poses is to support yourself, right? Same with using your bench, your stool, a kitchen counter. Right? Recognizing that we need support is absolutely an act of strength. Right? So if you need something around you to stay steady here, please feel free. And then just find a long spine. We do want to sense a drawing navel to the back body. We're stacking the shoulders. This left shoulder presses back in space. You can look up, not so nice in all of our necks. So to the side or even down for a little support here makes perfect sense. And if it works in the body, 3 more breaths. See if you can find that 1-to-1 ratio here. Right, so a sense of really being anchored to the moment. And we try to rise from the ground up. So the feet are anchored, the legs are strong. We come up, right? Turn all 10 toes sort of forwards. And we'll find just a fold to reset before we move through our second side. So a nice big breath in. Right, long spine, maybe a halfway fold. Again, maybe using support, or if there's space in the body this morning, you could take the hands to the earth. Right, not so much about ambition, more just about finding a reset. Right. And then slowly coming up nice and strong if you were folded. And you can step to the front of your space. Right? Notice if you need to shake the legs out. And then we'll take the second side of that first pose, called pyramid pose, actually. So ideally right foot back. If you started on that side first, just switch sides. Right? Again, from the front, my stance is wide enough that I can really square my hips. The first fold, we're just going to hold, right? Just sort of preparing the body for some of the movement. So take a breath in, and then just like a halfway fold. My spine is long, right? There's a gentle tuck of the chin to the chest. You know, you can use your stool, counter, chair. If hands are at the heart or at the hips, you might fold deeper. Right? You really want energy drawing this outer left hip and left thigh back in space. The legs should be strong, and your right heel should be fully grounded and anchored here. Right? And None of these poses are about exact shapes, but they are certainly about being aware and being safe. Another breath. Good. And then a slow rise up. And now, option for dynamic movement. You might feel when you get back into this pose like that's the place you just want to be. That's fine too. So if you're moving, right arm comes up, left hand comes to the low back, the palm faces back, and I'm working to draw that shoulder and elbow back in space. Always okay to take hands to the heart if you prefer. So it's a nice big breath in, and then we fold, keeping the legs strong, hips steady. Right? We come back up, big breath in, and we'll do 4 more. Exhale, fold. You might stop halfway. Some of you here are going to start to find space to get deeper. Right? Really working to be aware of the spine. The breath is long. Right? Every movement is an opportunity to remain present and aware. Good. So last one we'll hold if you were moving. Right? If you want a little bit more of a challenge through the upper back and shoulders, both arms could come forwards. Some of us here are going to prefer to release the hands somewhere, hips, heart, the shin. Right? Anything that serves you here. And just steady breath. Right? If there is a narrative or story in the mind, we try not to attach ourselves to it. We work to just let it pass by. We stay with the breath, present and aware. Good. Let's say one more. And then a slow rise up. Good. And so we're shifting for triangle pose, one of my favorite poses. So the back foot is going to open because we kind of want to square the hips a little bit towards the side. They're often, for most of us, angled a little bit forward here, and that is just fine. You can also lengthen your stance if that feels like it makes sense for you. So arms will reach, palms down or up sometimes is a little more spacious, and we want this sense of that front hip dropping as we extend forwards. Right? We can always use support. Right arm can come up or hand at the hip. Right? Eventually we find the shin. It's very light though, so I'm not collapsing onto the leg. Gaze down to the right or up. Right? I'm really focused on length along the top side of the body. I'm pressing my right shoulder back in space. Right? There's this nice strong rotation through the body here. Right? Ooh. Almost knocked myself over. Good. 2 more big breaths here. Good. And then we'll come up again from the earth. So the feet are anchored, legs are strong. We'll come up. I'm just going to shift my position and we'll stay in that wide leg stance. We want to be just a tiny bit pigeon-toed in that one. And we're just going to play around with the first movement we found, the side body and the fold, but now we'll do it with a wide leg. And I'll cue us to land on the last one. So it's just one last chance to get into the side here. Very vibrant, these side body stretches, so sometimes nice, especially early in the day, to play with them. So again, take care of the shoulders, make sure to be aware of the sides. Big breath in, arms up. And then right hand down the right side, exhale over. Good. Inhale up. And then we'll find a fold through center. You could challenge yourself by keeping the arms overhead. For a lot of us, hands through center is going to make more sense. Right? Come all the way up, nice and strong. Arms reach. And over to the left, exhale. Good. Inhale through center. Slow breath, 1-to-1 ratio if you can. Exhale through center. Legs are strong. Try not to let the hips collapse way back. Inhale all the way up. Exhale. Right, mind is steady. Inhale up. We start to slow these down. Exhale, fold. Good. Inhale up. And to the left. So we'll just move for, again, another minute or so. At any point, you can stop and find stillness if it's enough. And either 1-to-1 ratio with the breath, or maybe those exhales get a little bit longer, a little more grounding, little more calming, right? So it might be a morning for you to challenge your breath a little bit here, right? Sometimes it's really not. So it's a chance again to just notice what serves you moment to moment, breath to breath. Right? If you get into the fold at any point and it feels like the place you want to be, just stay in the fold. Right? So again, I definitely don't know what you need from a distance especially, but even at any given moment. So trust yourself, right? Separate from what I'm moving us through. Right? About 30 seconds if you're still moving. We are going to meet in the forward fold. So at any point you can land there. If you're moving, maybe one more transition. And then we meet in the fold, keeping in mind the depth of the fold is really up to you. You can keep your hands on the earth once you get there, right? Some of you may be a little challenged to the shoulder, hands to the low back, elbows squeezing to the sky. Some of you may be interlacing palms or fingers, palms pressed together and flying the hands maybe off the back body here. Right? Again, none of these poses are about achievement. They are about what serves you. So don't try to get anywhere that doesn't make sense. We'll take a few breaths wherever you are. Great. There's a lot of simple movements, but I don't know if you're like me, but you might have built a little heat already. Let's find a halfway lift. And then we'll come up to standing. Good. So we're going to take one last standing pose. We're going to balance. Lots of options with this one. You can be supported by a wall at your back. You can be supported by a chair, counter, or something else. What I love about balance is that it's just as much about what you don't do as what you do, right? So it is a compromise of effort and ease. So we're going to leave the right leg standing. You can come up on the ball of the left foot. And we'll start with the left knee opening to the side. You're going to bring the heel up to the ankle. So we stay rooted in tree, you're here. If you'd like to balance, the foot comes to the calf or the inner thigh. And this knee presses back in space, so I'm opening through the front of the hips and the groin. I'm pressing foot into leg, leg into foot, right? Hands could be at the heart, at the hips. If you like, you could extend through the fingers, encouraging the spine to lengthen. And at any point, if none of this is working for you, feet on the earth, right? Chin to chest, just a sense of being grounded, right? It's okay to recognize that's what we actually need. Say 4 or 5 more breaths. Great, and then from wherever you are, slow transition of the knee forwards. You could kick that foot forwards, little challenge for the front of the leg, and then release. Good. And then just the second side, our last standing pose here this morning, up on the ball of the right foot, right? The knee can come open. You can draw the heel to the ankle, right? Staying grounded this morning, calf or inner thigh. And again, try not to attach yourself to the shape. We just want to find a sense of, being grounded, even in the sort of holding on we need to build these balancing poses. Right? There is a softening and a bit of surrender that also needs to happen. Right? That left foot is grounded, but you don't want the toes squeezing the earth. We want to relax the face. All these little wobbles are just fine. Body is just getting to know a new place. That's what's showing up for you this morning. 2 more breaths. Last one. Good. And then release. If you want that little challenge, you could kick that foot forwards for a moment. Take a few breaths. Great. And then we'll make our way to seated. You can do this in any fashion you'd like. Again, always that option to use a stool or a chair. If you don't want to be seated on the earth and you need a little space, a cushion or some blocks sometimes will bring the earth up a little bit here. We'll do one of my favorite twists. It's super simple. It's very powerful. So again, opportunity within this to find some really great power internally in the body here. So I'll mirror image you. You're going to take your right hand to your left knee, and then you stack the left hand over top. And we're going to move through an inhale to lengthen, and then you exhale to twist towards the left. And you just come out of it halfway as you inhale, and you rotate again, twist. Good. Come out halfway, and twist again. One more time, halfway out. Twisting here to stay, and we'll take 5 more breaths. See if you can find those even breaths again. So twists often challenge, especially the space to find a full in and out. And some of you here, the moment the lungs are empty, are going to have space to actually deepen the rotation in the body here, right? Not all of us, right? Both sits bones or both hips are anchored on the earth. Two more breaths. Good. And then come back through center. Pause. Right? Just a few easy breaths here. So again, it's subtle work, but it should be powerful. And we'll do the second side. So left hand to the right knee, right hand stacks over. Right? Nice big breath to lengthen. And we exhale into the depth of the twist. And then you come about halfway out, inhale, spine needs to be long here. And then exhale, twist. Good. 2 more times, halfway out, twist. Last one, halfway out. And then we twist to stay, right? And your inhale for more length. Some of you here exhale, twisting deeper, or even the moment the lungs are empty, the body might open it up, right? Should be powerful, even in the simplicity. Right? For a lot of us, this is building an internal heat and fire. It's almost like a furnace. So surprisingly, quite a lot of heat here. Good. Another breath. And then a slow unwind. And then just a gentle fold forward. So walking the hands forwards. It doesn't need to be aggressive. Just a nice little bit of sort of space and love for the back body here. And then restack the spine. Good. So we'll just find a hip opener here, one last set of folds. So the right leg is going to come long, and the left foot is going to come to the inner right thigh. One thing with folds, right, the tendency is just to want so badly to reach that we just collapse. So I just want you to think, lengthen the body, take a big breath in, and then without collapsing the spine, exhale, fold, maybe just halfway. And we're going to do that again. So again, we're using this dynamic movement to meet the breath. Exhale halfway forwards. The collarbones are lifted and long. Yeah, do 3 more. In and out. See if you can slow it down. In and out. Last one in. Last one out, and now we'll hold. And I'll give you a couple options here. If you're really enjoying this active stretch, you're going to continue to lift and lengthen the front body. The hands walk forwards without collapse. Eventually, you might reach the calf, the ankle, or even the foot. And once you are in the depth, you might drop the chin. If it feels like a time for surrender, you can relax the leg, let the back body round, let the head hang heavy in the arms, relax. Five breaths wherever you are. Allow the body to dictate the breath now that we're here. Couple more. And a slow rise up. Right, a breath or two with a nice long spine. And then we'll switch sides. So folds are very grounding and anchoring, right? And when we slow the breath down on the exhale, that adds to that sense of being grounded. So not just something to use on our mats, but something that also to be aware of out in the world, right? So again, we're moving with breath here, big breath in, spine is long, and then we exhale forwards, just maybe halfway of what feels like our depth. Doesn't matter how far, right? Spine long though. Inhale up. And we'll do 3 more. So exhale, drawing the body forwards, front and back body stay long. Good. Inhale up. 2 more times. Exhale forwards, the stomach draws towards the left thigh, the heart draws towards the toes. Good. And then we'll stay in the fold, right? And now maybe the body starts to round as you draw forwards, right? It might be this active reach, finally finding the calf, the ankle, or the foot, right? The arms stay plugged in, the chin might fall softly towards the chest, or for some of us, just surrender is going to feel best here. 5 breaths. Right, and there isn't a right choice. There's just the choice we make, and then, you know, accepting and committing to it here. Two more breaths. Good. And then a restack of the spine. Find a symmetrical shape. Cross the legs. Legs could be out in front. If you're seated on a chair, if it's possible, please make sure the bottom of the feet connect with the earth here. And then one last forward fold, just this nice, gentle, again, not worrying too much about the spine if it wants to round. Sometimes when I'm here at the end of my practice, I'll even sort of move a little bit. Good. And then a restack of the spine. Right, nice and long, this sort of gentle follow the chin to the chest. You can soften the gaze. Some of you will feel comfortable here closing the eyes. Both are great. Breath moves through the nostrils ideally, right? If you can't move it through the nostrils, please move the breath through the mouth, but picture the breath moving through the nostrils here. And we sort of want to visualize just for this last minute, this ability to like gather the breath from out in front of the nostrils, right? In a single flow. Right, to watch it move up both nostrils separately and then reconvene at the bridge, right between the sort of corner of the eyes. Right, in this last bit of stillness and landing, we just want to notice, right, quality of the breath, quality of the body, quality of the mind. Right? Even though it was fairly simple, how did what we move through this morning, right, shift us somehow, prepare us to move through the day a little differently maybe? And then relax the breath. And just tune in to sort of a sense of awareness. Right? It might feel a little bit like it's outside of yourself. It might actually feel grounded or centered in the heart or the head or even the abdomen. Again, just a chance to acknowledge how this practice, especially of breath, can impact us so powerfully. So please feel free to stay seated. You can always come down to the back body, laying down for 5 or 10 minutes, just letting the body fully integrate everything you move through. But I know a lot of us have busy days and busy lives, so understandable if you need to sort of hurry on with those as well. As always, I hope you get something out of showing up this morning. I hope it enriched your morning. I hope it will enrich the rest of your day. And I hope that some of those tools will carry you through your lives a little more smoothly and strongly. Thank you so much for showing up. And keep in mind, you know, if you have those moments of high energy, of anxiety, of anything that feels a little frantic, a few big breaths in with those long, slow, powerful breaths out, very, very impactful. We used them a lot this morning. Make sure to come back to those when you need to at any point in your day. Thank you, everybody. If you are going to choose to lay down, I will close the meeting in a minute. So just like hang out. Same with if you're sitting. But if you do want to sort of open your mic, have anything to say, or leave a note in the chat, that is also an